Living in a house made of perlite is warmer. Definitely, and that was probably the biggest difference we felt after moving from a house built with traditional technology. The temperature is essentially stable throughout the day. There is no need for additional heating or cooling.
We live in such a controlled microclimate, meaning we are very well insulated from the ground. The entire house is equipped with underfloor heating, powered by a ground source heat pump. The ceiling is also insulated with cellulose, so the only way to quickly exchange air is through the walls and windows that we have here. As for the windows, we have about 60 square meters of window area. The rest are perlite blocks of System 3. Here, we were very curious about how it would behave in the middle of winter because the single-layer system was a surprise to basically everyone who visited. Our blocks are 35 centimeters wide. On the exterior side, they are only integrated with a mesh that is embedded in adhesive on which the facade is laid. On the interior side, it is exactly the same, except the finishing layer is gypsum plaster. We inserted structural columns between the blocks. They also had to be accounted for at the appropriate moments. This also caused the insulating properties of the wall to be interrupted by the concrete. Therefore, outside, we decided to add extra insulation in the areas where the columns are located. On the exterior, we have a 10 centimeters insulation of extruded polystyrene, XPS. It also works, you can't see it, but we absolutely don't feel any thermal bridges at these connections. After calculations, it turned out that using your system, our house became more than passive.
It was interesting that indeed, at the design stage and during the preparation of the technological documentation, after entering the parameters of the windows and blocks, an error appeared in the program indicating that it was simply impossible for the house to be so well insulated.
Investments in a house should not be viewed in isolation on a per square meter basis. First and foremost, one needs to consider what is expected from it and carefully think about which technologies to choose in the context of the time spent in it. We are planning to live in this house for the rest of our lives, so our investments have been directed towards making it as low maintenance as possible, to make it as family friendly as possible, to make it open, and to make it environmentally friendly as well. We installed a photovoltaic system and heat pumps.
The speed of construction and the energy efficiency were the most significant parameters. The blocks have many other great parameters, including vapor permeability, soundproofing, and fire resistance, which convinced us to choose the system. I think ecology is also important, and we are really happy that this house is environmentally friendly. What probably surprised us during the later finishing stages surprised us. Essentially, we expected it to be that way. We were promised that these walls would be even and smooth. Those corners that fit together, those right angles that were truly right, those walls that didn't warp. And it is also important to note that the quality of the system is independent of the skills of the team. In System 3, if the first layer is done well, the walls must be straight. And that's a really nice effect later on, that indeed, when it comes to the finishing stage, you don't need to pour more, you don't need to plaster, you don't need thick layers to even out the walls. The furniture makers were also satisfied. When they installed the cabinets and these cabinets actually reached the corners and the walls without any gaps, it was indeed very useful. It made things much easier at every stage, essentially, for the finishing work later on.